Hello and welcome once again to the Tuesday Checklist, the show where we ditch the scripts in favour of our natural wit and charm. This week we're talking about emotional investment. Those times where we pour ourselves into the games we love, maybe a little too much of ourselves, and end up, for better or worse, with memories that last a lifetime. First up in the sharing chair this week is me, talking about a series that's very close to my heart.
Okay, so I quite often get over-emotionally invested in games. Quite often that emotion is anger. But a time I remember where I got really emotionally invested in a video game was my old PES Master League.
Yeah, wait, this better be our Master League.
No, even further back in time than that, Dave. Back on the PS2. Obviously you will be seeing footage from more modern Master League gameplay because I don't know where my copy of Pro Evolution Soccer 2 is anymore. As Dave will know, the players that you get with Master League in PES, they're not real players, they're like made up players. And they're not very good, like the default Master League players. That you develop an affinity for them and how they perform in matches. It's sort of you build up the story of these players and you create, you create their lives basically. They become fully formed in your head, and you sort of get really attached to them. The whole lure of Master League is taking this team of misfits from nothing and just winning like the treble with them, winning the Premier League, winning the Champions League, like taking hopeless players. I mean, to be honest, you don't really do that. What you do is you use these players until you have enough money to buy better players and they just get sold. But you still remember them, like you always remember, and one or two of them will become good enough and they sort of improve and they may stay with your team for many years. Like back in the old days, the striker was called Castolo. He's been replaced now by Goyos. I hate Goyos. Goyos is useless. But back in the day, Castolo, he was amazing. Castolo, Jimenez, Minander, they were the lads, the original lads. And you build like a relationship with them almost. Back when I was at school, I used to collect, I don't know if anyone else did this, Merlin's Premier League football stickers.
I did not.
Afraid not.
No. Well, every year
Merlin, like Wizards.
Yeah,
Wizards football.
Every year there'd be a new sticker book, and you'd buy the book, and you'd have to collect all the stickers, and you stick them in, and I got so obsessed with my PES Master League that I drew my own stickers for the pretend Master League players.
That's amazing.
Like a little A4 sheet of paper, and I got like a real life sticker and I put it on the A4 paper to measure out exactly how big a real sticker was, and I drew a grid, and in each one I drew like my little logo for my team and drew like little caricatures of each of my players.
Wow.
It was a great time. That's how much I loved them.
That is a lot of love.
And like I had them on my bedroom, I cut them all out, put them on my bedroom door. It was a great time. But I had like a real and emotional attachment to my Master League players, to the extent where I lovingly drew every single one of them. Obviously then sold them so I could buy better players and win all of the trophies. But like the love it's definitely a love-hate relationship, as Dave will probably attest to, because quite a lot of the time they're terrible at football, which is their job. But yeah, it's when you take them from the bottom right to the top, it's an amazing emotional journey.
How far did you get, Rob? Did you win the treble? Did you win?
Oh yeah. I was like,
please.
I would play Master League, pretty obsessively. I would get 15 seasons deep maybe before the next iteration of PES would come along and I'd have to start all over again. But it felt like I was creating history. There was like a real sense of history as the seasons went on. And you'd have, I did my own commentary on PES as well. So it'd be like, obviously Castolo, this is his 7th Premier League title now. 3-time Golden Boot winner. coming into his twilight years. What a career he's had. Great times.
God, the school bullies must have just loved you.
Yeah, I didn't tell them any of this.
Football!
Lovely bit of football.
So, we probably all know at this point, I get very emotionally invested in games. I mean, I've got the famous boyfriend list where there are characters who I love so much, I call them my boyfriends.
Who's the latest addition to the boyfriend list, Rosie?
Oh, who was it? Probably Solaire from Dark Souls. Like, you know, the adventure we went on together.
One you couldn't find for ages.
Yeah, and then when we did find it was like fate.
Are you wearing his t-shirt?
Yeah,
Bit
see,
weird.
I always praise the
There he is.
There he is.
Close to my heart.
And then I've also talked about moments where I've like cried unconditioned, like just cry. I did it with The Last Guardian. So I thought that I'd go for something a bit different. So I'm going to tell you the story of a game that I got fully invested in because it was my first experience of an epic story. This is not like, you know, it's not an original video game story. It was originally a manga comic, and a lot of people also know it from an anime series, but my introduction to the story was in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yes.
I got so emotionally invested in this brilliant story. When I played it, I was like, oh, you know, like I like some anime and stuff, and I read manga comics in the past, and I was like, yeah, I'll have a good time with it. And I've heard so many people talk about like Dragon Ball, like everyone loves, all goes on about Dragon Balls. I played it at EGX, and I really enjoyed the combat. I believe you were on stage with me for that, Rob.
Yeah, you lost the boss fight, if I remember, Rosie.
Then I won it, but I didn't fully understand the combat, so I did it without healing.
You won it in practice. You were practicing backstage. I remember you just winning it lots of times, and then you got on stage and
just Raditz, I was just fumbling about all over Raditz, and then I streamed it with L. And when I streamed it with Elle, that was like the first time I was properly like going into the story, as I played it a bit beforehand, so I was probably like an hour into the game, but it was just at the point where in the Saiyan saga or Saiyan saga, I'm very sorry if I'm getting pronunciations, Saiyan. In the Saiyan saga where, you know, Gohan, they're all waiting for Goku to come back to life, and Vegeta and Nappa, they've come down and they're waiting, and the countdown's happening, but a big battle happens, and literally everyone dies. And when I streamed this with Elle, I was so like, why is everyone dying? Like this is probably like a famous thing that loads of fans of the series, or even just people who know of Dragon Ball, like they know about, but I was like, what is happening to these characters? And like Yamcha was on the floor and I couldn't believe it, and Krillin was gone, and I wanted to, like, from that stream onwards, I knew I had to play this game. I had to get into Dragon Ball because I was like, I love it. Like, oh, and then like Piccolo's the best dad, and just basically after that stream, I was like, Piccolo's the best dad. I love Vegeta, and I loved him as a character. And because I was just like, where's Goku? Where's Goku? When's he gonna come? When's he gonna come save the day? I just played the rest of the game, and I was just on such a brilliant ride with it. Like, when I say emotionally invested, it's more like, you know, when certain fights happen, I was rooted like, yeah, go on Goku, or yeah, come on Piccolo, go on, use your Kamehameha. I was like, yeah, go on, do all this stuff. Even though I was the one fighting, I was cheering for the characters. And it was just, you know, getting to know these characters through the video game. I just completely fell in love with them. And yeah, after I played the game, I was then like, I really want to watch the anime now, and I really want to read the manga comics. So it was just, yeah, I just completely loved it. It was a wonderful story to go on, and I'm so happy that I've now finally experienced Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z anyway, because it was so great, and I was so invested in the characters and the story. It was such a blast.
I wasn't really sure when I was told to think about something I've been too emotionally invested in. I wasn't entirely sure what it meant, and I was worried that it didn't mean just caring a lot about things. I thought maybe it meant caring a lot about things that didn't make any sense to care about. Whereas my story is definitely caring too much about something that I think is perfectly valid. And that game is Valiant Hearts: The Great War.
Oh my god.
Has anyone played Valiant Hearts:
Yes.
The Great War?
Oh my god, I was a wreck after that
I have
game.
not, but only because the trailer made me so sad that I thought,
Yeah.
oh my god.
It is a bit of it's a difficult,
Is it a Star Wars thing?
Not quite.
Oh no, it's nowhere near as emotional as Star Wars, but it's close. It's about it's a kind of a 2D side-scrolling puzzly adventure game set during World War One, and it tells the story of a group of people who, and they're kind of they're all linked in some way. So it's largely around this central family, but then there are other characters as well, and it's about their experience of this war. And it sounds fun, right? Who wouldn't want to play an emotional story around the First World War? But I did. I wanted to play it, and I'm really glad I did. It's a fantastic game. I highly recommend it. It's beautifully written. It tells this story, this quite unusual kind of take on war, I think, because it is much more about human people rather than super soldier people. It's like human stories. It's not about shooting, but it is about the effects of war and also how these people had no will to be part of it, but they were part of it. They were just thrust into this war. It's a fantastic story, but the reason I was particularly emotionally invested was not to do with any of the humans, but of course to do with Walt the dog.
That's what made me not. I just saw the dog in the trailer, and I thought, I can't.
I bet you thought,
Just
Rob,
can't.
that dog's going to die. Did you think that?
Yeah.
So did I, and I was terrified. It both propelled me forwards and made every step a shudder, because I was like, I don't want Walt to die, and I know he's going to die. I know he's going to die. I don't want him to die. The first thing I think he does in the game is rescues one of your characters from a pile of rubble, and he's dressed. He's a little first aid dog. Yes. He's got like a little like smock with like a little first aid symbol.
See Rob shaking his head at me.
Absolutely not like dogs.
And
All they
he's,
do is love you.
That's why I don't like him.
Exactly,
Get away.
yeah. Have some depth. Hate me. I'm not lovable.
Self-respect.
Yeah, exactly. And I was so completely terrified that Walt was going to die. And now I will be revealing endgame spoilers for Valiant Hearts. He doesn't die, everyone.
I was so happy when he doesn't.
He
I was the
doesn't
same as you. I was like,
die.
every scene he was in, I was like, is this going to be the end? Is this going to die? Is this going to be it? And then when he doesn't, I was just like, oh my god, they didn't. God,
They didn't.
yes!
Thank God. They went a different way. I didn't realise the whole time until the end that I'd become really emotionally invested in all the characters. And the end of the game is incredibly upsetting, really. So the story follows this family. There's a man and a wife who are French and German, the other way around, German and French respectively. And at the start of the war, they live in France and they have to be separated because France is deporting all of the German nationals out of the country, and they're split up. And he's conscripted to join the German army, and her father is conscripted to join the French army. You follow them, they come into contact, they don't want to be fighting, they still love each other, they're still family. The end of the game, the father is basically, he has been found guilty of killing a French officer, his superior officer, and it was an accident, and he's found guilty. And the end of the game is you just have to walk, as Emile, his name is, all you can do is walk to the right as you're led out of the prison to face a firing squad. And it's incredibly emotional. The music in the game is beautiful. It's largely narrated, and the end of this game is Emile reading a letter that he's written to his daughter to tell her what's happened. And obviously it's the First World War. He's not spoken to her for forever. There's no kinds of communication apart from writing letters. Everybody is sad. Like all his army mates are all sad because he's being put to death by his own people for doing the right thing, really, for saving hundreds of lives. But he has to be killed because he's been disrespectful. Well, he's killed someone, but also went against a superior officer. And he walks, and as he walks, he just walks by himself to this post. He sees his family and friends that he's met through the game, and they just disappear as he gets in close enough to touch them. They just disappear because they're all figments of his imagination. The first one that he sees is Walt, which is really very sad. And for me, because I loved Walt, and he gets to the post, he's tied up and he's shot, and that's the end of the game. Except it's not the end of the game, because after that, the end of the game is seeing all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of graves, and Emil's family and Walt are all stood around Emil's grave. And it's really sad, and I feel really upset telling you about it now.
alive.
But Walt's alive!
Walt's alive.
He lives to fight another day. Hopefully he doesn't fight another war. But that game, like, it really, I think, is kind of underrated and maybe underplayed. Like, I really recommend it. It's a fantastic game. It's a really wonderful story, and the game is really fun as well. The mechanics of it, it's kind of puzzly, and it's not all dour and down. There's a lot of light-heartedness as well, like a lot of fun to be had. But it is telling, and I found it really interesting because it does a great job of telling you about a part of history that I was a bit ignorant about as well. It does a really beautiful job of explaining the hardship of that particular war and what happened and why it didn't need to. It's a very, very good game. Hooray!
So thinking about emotional investment in video games, the one that always comes to mind that I think about crying everywhere, snot down my face, so oh my god, this is the most I've ever felt a game ever, is The Last of Us 2, which we already spoke about, where I played it in a weekend and suffered greatly afterwards. So I was trying to think of something a bit more out of the box that affected me in a different emotional way, and I searched. My eyes are closed because this is what's happening. I was searching through the back of my mind for things that had affected me through my video game life. Coming after the lovely Walt entry of deep emotional trauma, mine is swum through the back of my mind and came upon Dragon's Dogma, and I think it was Dark Arisen, the one that I played. And this, I don't think I can tell you about this game because I do not understand it one bit. It's really complicated, it's really convoluted, there's loads of bits to it. You're basically this person called the Arisen, and it's your job to fight a really big dragon that's very angry. He's very angry.
Doesn't it pluck your heart out at the beginning?
Yes, and it steals your heart and you become the Arisen and you're connected to this dragon and you must defeat it, and that's kind of your goal. And you have all of these people that follow you around called pawns, which you can create, who are hey, I'm your buddy, and you have lovers called your beloved. And you're basically helping out Grand Soren. Loads of stuff happens. Then there's a big hole in the sky and you fall through it and you end up fighting the dragon, and then sometimes you fall through the hole again, depending on what ending you get. And sometimes you become a dragon. When I was playing this game, it was all I could think about at all. I didn't understand what was going on or what was happening or what I was doing, but it was all I could think about was going into this game and exploring this world and being in this fantasy setting and this dragon looming over my mind. And it got to the point where Dragon's Dogma inspired my first lucid dream. So I managed to go to sleep because I'd been thinking about Dragon's Dogma so much, thinking about dragons and being oh my god, what am I going to do next? Who am I going to find? What magic awaits me in Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen? And I went to bed that night. And I was there. I was in the land. We were walking around. I was oh my god! I was talking to my pawns. There was people. It just kept going and going and going and going. This dream, and I kind of just accepted that was my life now. And it got to many years in this dream. It's really hard to explain, but I felt I was there for years. I became the protector of these people.
Was it a good dream?
It was great. I could turn into a dragon as well. My dream version, I could turn into a dragon. I could fly around. I was looking out for my people. I was having a nice time. I was invested. And it got to a point where I was having some dragon business doing. I was going around and I got in this big battle. Dream Ash was ready to defend the land. And someone killed me. Someone absolutely just offed me. And I woke up and I was
back to my normal boring life. No,
it's time. It's time for school. It had been it had been 5 years, and I woke up and I was, Narnia at the end of Narnia when they're old kings and queens, and they come back and they're oh, actually we're school children on the train now. That was me. I was I'm not a dragon. It was a very bizarre, very weird thing, and then I played it again in the evening and I was well, I wouldn't have done this in my town. It just infected my brain completely to the point where all my emotions got mixed up, and my brain chemistry was affected by Dragon's Dogma, and I was in there. I was living it. I was so invested that I was there. And I would like to go back. I'd like to go back one day.
Do you miss?
Maybe.
Do you miss your Dragon's Dogma life?
I do. I was a hero, and the people loved me. I had a great time. I died valiantly. Like it was great. And now here I am,
Boring old ass.
Recording Tuesday checklist.
thinking about what could have been if only I had a sword.
I don't think that can be topped, actually. Loving a game so much, you spend half a dream decade inside its world. Do you have any stories you'd like to share? Let us know in the comments. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and please do subscribe and click the bell if you haven't already done so, to make sure you never miss anything from the world of PlayStation. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again soon.